Hi, my name is Amber, and this is the First Date book tag. This was originally created by Kate's Book Date, and I will have her video linked down below. Since it is February, I thought that this would be the perfect tag to do when it's close to Valentine's Day, so let's get started. Number 1, Awkward First Date. A book where something felt off. Not a bad book, just lacked that spark for you. For this, I decided to go with a more recent read, and that was Edge of Everything by Jeff Giles. I had a bunch of hype into this book, and I really wanted it to be good and interesting, and it's not a bad book, it just definitely lacked a lot for me, and it was one that I just did not enjoy as much as I was hoping I would. Number 2, Cheap First Date. A book that turned out less than you expected. For this one, I decided to go with Summer Days and Summer Nights. This is an anthology of summertime stories. They're supposed to be love stories. I actually talk about this in my most disappointing reads of 2016. I had so much hope for this because I loved My True Love Gave to Me, which was the Christmas version. I loved that one so much, and I just was hoping this one was going to be as good as that. It definitely wasn't. It lacked a lot for me. It just wasn't happy and upbeat. It was very sad and depressing in a lot of ways, and I was just having to force myself to read these stories. Definitely, I expected way more from this than I got. Question number 3. Well Prepared First Date. A book that turned out better than you expected. I decided to go with The Last of the Firedrakes by Farah Umurboy. I didn't expect this to be bad. I just went into this not really expecting anything. I had signed up to be part of this book's book tour, and it just seemed like an interesting book, but I didn't know what it was gonna be like, and I finished it and I loved it. I loved the world and the characters and everything about this so much, and I will link any video I have that talks about this book down below so you can go check that out, but I thoroughly enjoyed this. The sequel comes out this year, which I'm really excited for, and I did not expect to love it as much as I did. Question number 4, Hot but Dumb. A pretty book, but not so hot on the inside. I decided to go with Queen of Hearts by Colleen Oakes. This book. I talked about this book again in my disappointed reads of last year, and this book is gorgeous. It looks like a playing card, which I thought was super unique and just really interesting and beautiful, and it's gorgeous, and that is the main reason why I haven't gotten rid of it yet. But the story it drug on. I didn't really care for any of the characters. Again, I talk about more of this in my other video, but this book was so disappointing. Question number 5, Blind Date. A book you picked up not knowing anything about it. For this one, I decided to go with Never Never by Colleen Oakes, and there's another author, and I'm forgetting her name, but I will have a photo of it here because I don't actually physically own this one. I had seen this around a bunch. It looked creepy and kind of interesting, so I had my eye on it for a while. It was free on Amazon, and I decided to pick it up on my Kindle and read it, and I didn't know anything going into that book, and I loved every second of it. I thought it was really entertaining and really weird and strange, and you're trying to figure out everything that's going on, and I don't want to talk any more about it because it is better that you go into this book completely blind, not knowing anything. Question number 6, Speed Dating. A book you read super fast. For this one, I decided to go with Infinity by Jess Accardo. Entangled Teen sent me this a while back, and I kind of jumped into it not really knowing much about it, and remembering correctly, I read this in a day, and I loved every single second of it. It was so much fun. This is a story about a girl whose father is a overbearing, strict military father, and one day she learns that he's really the head of a secret underground facility that has figured out a way to time travel through different dimensions. It's crazy and fun, and I love this so much, and I flew through it just so incredibly fast. Question number 7, Rebound. A book you read too soon after a book hangover, and it ruined it for you. This one, I decided to go with The Crown by Kira Cass. It is very rare that I get book hangovers from a book. It's only happened a few times, but the biggest one was A Court of Mist and Fury, and I decided to pick up this afterwards. I honestly thought I was gonna love this, and I'm a huge fan of the Selection series. I actually really enjoyed The Air, and I was looking forward to this a lot. And if you've seen my most disappointing reads, this is another one that's on there. I was just very disappointed in this. I think it was an enjoyable read. I just think there were a lot of issues with it that I definitely did not care for, and I think reading A Court of Mist and Fury before it definitely didn't help the situation. Question number 8, The Overenthusiastic Date. A book that felt like it was trying too hard. I had a very hard time picking one for this question. I honestly looked at my shelves for a very long time and tried to think of a book that I thought was trying too hard, and I couldn't think of any. So I might have read one, and I just don't actually physically own it anymore and couldn't think about it. So I decided to go with one that I thought just pushed itself a little too far. I decided to go with Carrier of the Mark by Leif Allen. I actually really enjoyed this. I thought it was really fun and really interesting. I read this in a day. It was a very fast read, and I do plan on picking up the sequel. This is a duology, but it definitely was fast paced, and I don't mean it was really fast paced and I loved every minute of it. It felt like everything was being pushed and forced. Like the story was going too fast. There were too many questions and too many things I was trying to figure out. Yeah, so again, not a bad book, really enjoyed it. Definitely plan on picking up the next one, but it definitely needed to slow down just a little bit. Question number 9, Perfect First Date. A book that did everything right for you. Now this could be just because the sequel is coming out really soon, but this is definitely a book that I adore with all of my heart and have read multiple times. I could have picked a bunch of books for this, and I tried to go outside of what I normally pick and what I normally say are my favorites and go with one that is still a favorite but I don't talk about enough, and that is Velvet by Temple West. This is a vampire book. Don't let that scare you. Calm down. Don't leave the video. I promise it's okay. I'm a fan of Twilight. I've always been a fan of Twilight, and I always will be a fan of Twilight. But I honestly, after Twilight, didn't really read that many vampire books afterwards because anything vampire related that I read after Twilight just wasn't good enough. And I know there's this stigma that anything vampire related in the young adult world is horrible and terrible and you shouldn't read it. This is a vampire book that you need to go read. Go read this book. I flew through this super fast when I got it, and it is a very quick, fun, insane read, and it's about a girl named Caitlin who ends up needing a vampire bodyguard and just happens to be the hot guy at school. I loved it so much and I'm so excited for the sequel. The series is so good. I'm gonna keep saying that a million times. This is definitely one of my favorites, and go read this. I promise you it will change your outlook on vampire books. And lastly, question 10, Humiliating First Date. A book you're embarrassed to admit you like, or embarrassed to be seen reading in public. This one's very hard for me because I don't have a ton that I would be embarrassed to be reading out in public. So I decided to go with the Fallen series by Lauren Kate. I enjoyed the series a lot. The first one was kind of meh for me, but I actually, once I continued on, I read all of them extremely quickly and really enjoyed how the story went and how it all ended, and I'm really glad that I read the whole series. These aren't bad covers. They're just the typical moody YA book covers to me, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. So that are all the questions in the first date book tag. I tag all of you that are watching this. Yeah. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and have a fantastic Valentine's Day, and I'll see you guys next time.